I can see it now. It's a white handkerchief tied to a pole. Flag of truce. If those creatures know what that means, what anything means. Wait a minute, something's happening. Humped shape is rising out of the pit. I can make out a small beam of light against a mirror. What's that? There's a jet of flame springing from the mirror, and it leaps right at the advancing men. It strikes them head on. Oh, Lord, they're turning into flames. Now the whole field's caught up by the woods, the barns, the gas tanks of the automobiles, spreading everywhere. It's coming this way now, about 20 yards to my right.
Ladies and gentlemen, due to circumstances beyond our control, we are unable to continue the broadcast from Grover's Mill. Evidently, there's some difficulty with our field transmission. However, we will return to that point at the earliest opportunity. In the meantime, we have a late bulletin from San Diego, California. Professor Indelkoffer, speaking at a dinner of the California Astronomical Society, expressed the opinion that the explosions on Mars are undoubtedly nothing more than severe volcanic disturbances on the surface of the planet. We continue now with our piano interlude.
No power in the verse can stop me.
What's going on, guys? My name is El De Niro, and welcome to episode 123 of The Midnight Hour. I think we're in like the 5th or 6th year of this show in total, and we've made 123 episodes, which is like one a week for like 2 years and then half a year. So terrible pace, terrible podcast, terrible host. But we have a good show today. I haven't listened to it yet because we haven't done it yet, but we're about to do it. I'm joined today by Miguel.
Hi. I've jumped over from the what was it called? WWP Slam Zone, and yes. Yeah, I thought I'd pop into the Midnight Hour Club, see what's going on.
Yeah, and we're very happy to have you. And weirdly, every episode that you've been on, except for the wrestling one that we did, but all the conspiracy ones that you've been on have all got like what's the word here? Like continuous viewership. Like every week, a certain number of people find them episodes for the first time, if you know what I mean. So like,
I guess it never goes out of fashion, does it? Like stuff like that. I feel like it's you could be talking about it now, you could be talking about it in 10 years' time, and but you know, less of that pillow talk. You know, less.
Yes.
that was an often seen comment that people felt like, you know, just get to the point. Don't you share experiences or be cracking any jokes, man. You just give us the facts and fuck off. So
yeah, I think it would be really weird, because like we have, so this show has people who just listen to every episode, and then this show has people who listen to some episodes when the title looks good or when the guests look good or whatever. I think people would be really surprised to know that some episodes of the show have completely new listeners every single week, and the ones where that happens the most are the 9/11 episode that I did with Dr. John, the Georgia Guidestones episode that we did, the Philadelphia experiment episode that we did, and did we do another conspiracy one, or was that it?
We kind of did like wrestling conspiracy theories, but that's obviously on the other channel.
Oh, yeah, that's on the other channel. Yeah.
But
yeah, that was a good one. That's a good video too.
Yeah, but nothing beyond those, because I probably said this in one of the prior episodes, that I have a weird inherent fascination with conspiracy, but I kind of have a distance from it. So I'm not going to talk about like, oh my god, the coronavirus is like, it's man-made and it's man-created, and because that's like, it's a thing that's happening, it's quite real, it's kind of spreading, and there's no benefit to bring up those kind of things to bring those questions into like the situation, if you will, you know?
Yeah, especially when the facts are still new and still pouring in and stuff. And like, also, China itself as a country is kind of embedded in conspiracy and conspiracy theory, and it's very hard to like disseminate the facts. It's like, I don't know, it feels like almost insensitive if you start veering down that route. Like, yeah.
It feels like you'd be doing it for views when you don't really have any more answers than people who are fucking working on this shit will be able to tell you. So yeah. I do kind of read into conspiracies. Like, I've had conspiracy books by dickheads who wrote it. And whereas as one grows up, initially there's that discovery level when you're like, ooh, I know this, and this is a thing that nobody else knows. reality
Yes.
is, a lot of it's bullshit. About 90% of it's bullshit, and the stuff that's real, I don't think it often gets the same coverage as the stuff that's fake. Now, excluding what we're going to talk about here now, obviously we can get to that in a minute, but I just think that, yeah, I'm interested more in the ones where it's like something weird happened there, or there's something weird was built, or someone has like quite a crazy claim, and I much prefer to explore those avenues, because I'm not gonna argue with you that the Earth is not flat, like, and you can't argue with me that the Earth is flat.
Yeah, because there's no argument. It is flat.
Yeah,
It's as simple as that.
it's as flat as it gets, and anyone who doesn't think it's flat can just fuck off, because, well,
Yeah, they can walk off the edge,
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, just go. It's a massive, like, 1,000-foot waterfall. You go right in there and then tell me what's at the bottom if you can hang on to it. But I don't know. I just feel like conspiracy is quite a wide term, anyways. I think, and there are certain things that are conspiratorial and worth kind of discussing. But there's also a lot of shit that's done for clickbait or views, and it's like a competition to kind of see who's wokest.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd
Yeah.
rather like we kind of approach it as, here's a topic or an idea or someone else's theory on something that is genuinely not insensitive, and something that's not that you can see maybe why someone would think that in the situation that they're in, but then you can also see that, like, the overwhelming evidence against. I don't know. I just find stuff like that, like, more fascinating than being like, I can prove to you that the Russians are now the people who are now putting this specific ad, or the not that those things aren't happening either, but it's just it's also sad. Some of it is kind of depressing, most of that shit. So
That's what, like, you know, that the podcast that we listen to, that we have spoken about on this show before, where everyone is really polite and they add disclaimers to everything.
here's where it gets crazy.
I was listening. Yeah.
That's not the name of it. We will never reveal the name of it. That's what's so cool about it.
You can turn back now, or
Yeah.
Well, I was listening to.
Good.
I was listening to that today. Listening to them talk about MK Ultra, and they were talking about this fucking, like, oh man, like this woman who visited a hypnotherapist or a hypnotist, or hypnotherapist, is that a thing? Yeah, probably.
Hypno,
you know,
the Pokemon.
Someone. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, someone who guides you through repressed memories, right? Which is just a complete bullshit field of bullshit. Like, your actual memories that you can remember, that you're in charge of remembering, are mostly fiction anyway. So if there's anything that's, quote, repressed, unquote, in there, it's pretty much bullshit. Now, there are some cases where people who suffer from, like, some
Trauma.
Yeah. Post-traumatic, like, all these things have been shown, but they're not necessarily repressed. They're still memories that reveal themselves, but they're just avoided through, like, a series of different techniques and stuff like that. But this is not like that. This is a woman who was revealing her repressed memories of the time that George W. Bush sat her down in a room and used hologram technology to transform into a shape-shifting reptilian. And
Wait, he did that?
Yes, this is all real, real repressed memory.
He saved that up for
but
that
the-
one person. What are the
The
odds?
hosts of the show are just like, and, you know, it's easy to be cynical and look at this and say, well, there's almost no way that happened. And, like, if you use the Socratic method, you're kind of led to believe there's no way it happened. But let's maybe have a look at the avenues through which someone might think that. And it's like, oh my god, man, just fucking call this woman on her bullshit.
Like,
Like,
it's
it's
fine.
fine. You can fucking get off the fence, you can take a position, and you can even defend your position.
Yeah.
But they're just like, but also, like, I do understand that they want to be sensitive because this woman is in all probability mentally ill, and you don't want to fucking, like, you know, you don't want to be the guy who drags a fucking, like, person with a serious undiagnosed illness who has been led down a dark path to repress
No,
memories
but
and all that bullshit.
you can lay some claim at the hypno. You can get him
Absolutely, yeah.
and say,
Yeah,
like,
and,
you're misleading
and the whole
people, and
industry
you're
based around
Yeah, around that. Like,
And the people who read the books too, like who the fuck are they going out and buying those books? Like,
and not laughing. I mean, not like laughing just through the day. I meant like just not being like, this is fucking bullshit, or this is not bullshit, or this is insanely funny, or ooh, I wonder if I tried this, what I'd actually do. Those people are culpable for misleading people, not just on that sense, like in psychic sense and all over other senses. Because like the classic one is slap a psychic in the face and be like, well, you didn't see that coming, did you? Now that I'm abdicating for violence. What? But it's true. You just be like, all right, I'm gonna pick up my shoe and throw it at you as fucking hard as I can. Did you see? I mean, you might see that coming because you see someone taking a shoe and then aiming at you. But generally speaking, you see it as it's being done, not back then. And they'll probably tell you some bullshit like, "Well, we don't just see the future." And it's like, what the fuck you reading these cards for? You're just being vague. Whatever. That's a different episode. What are we talking about today, anyways?
We're talking about the big green, the little green men or the big gray men. I think it kind of depends on which zeitgeist you're interested in at the time. But yeah, we're here to talk about aliens, and it's really interesting how the internet has brought in like a renewed interest in aliens, but it's not the same as the old like hysteria and like the point blank swearing to God that you were abducted in a cattle field and probed and all of that, where it's all clearly like the cultural subconscious, fear of rape, fear of expressing your sexuality, all of these things being expressed through stories about fucking anal probings or whatever. But in the internet age, it's because nobody trusts the government anymore or the authorities, and everyone is like, well, the Pentagon have this advanced aerospace fucking... Well, hold on, I'll read out the actual name. Mm-hmm. The Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, which was allegedly headed by a man named Luis Elizondo. Have you ever heard of him out of interest?
Why is he alleged to exist? Does he not exist? I've never heard of him, sorry.
So, this... what are they called? Is it The Spectator? What's the name of the publication? Some publication made a story, the Intercept ran a story that was like, reminder that there is absolutely no evidence that Luis Elizondo was part of any government program, that he ever worked for the CIA, that he ever did any of these things. And that's also kind of obvious too, right? Because if you're involved in black ops, you're not going to have a fucking paper trail. So there's a bit of give and a bit of take in the story, but those stories from the last few years that have come out about the Navy seeing UFOs.
Yeah, the Navy, the Air Force, kind of
yes,
the kind of building up evidence of like NASA's live stream cutting out as there's a little blip in the corner. Moon photos being color, like the brightening up, where you kind of see what they're kind of telling you. It's like a pyramid or something.
Yeah. There's a really famous one of this is like actual footage from the Pentagon. This is like official government documents. This isn't like no bullshit. And it's like this this aircraft is flying through the sky, and you're seeing their, what's the word for it? Like the thermal vision of an object flying like really rapidly, and it changes direction and it changes speed, and it just does things that no other object can do. It's technically classified as a UFO, or they're not called UFOs anymore, are they? They're called something else. But whatever it is, like it's flying at fucking like ridiculous patterns that no known man-made object can do. And they're like, oh shit, what the fuck is this? Well, like, what is it? Is it a drone? It's a fucking drone. It's not. There's a whole fleet of them and all. And you watch it and you're like, wow, that's really super fucking interesting. But like, I'll be honest, when I watch the footage, it looks like I'm looking at like microscope footage of bacteria moving into a fucking vein or something. Like, it doesn't look real because it's shot through VR. It just looks like a bunch of lights moving around or something. Like, I don't know. It's the least captivating thing ever for me.
I agree with you. Yeah, because I've seen. I'm sure we've all seen the kind of grainy gray footage.
Yeah.
Which obviously kind of implies, usually with the talk like, what's that or what was that thing? Like, and yeah, it is literally an identified flying object, but that doesn't mean that it is a UFO in the sense of there's little green dudes inside of it. It just means they don't know what it is
doesn't
on
mean
that particular time.
extraterrestrial.
Yeah. The objects unidentified, the things within it is what kind of we're kind of probably gonna cover what people believe and what's kind of like the lore about it. It wouldn't be unreasonable to say that like those are just other aircrafts from other countries from other societies. Of course, the flight movement is the inconsistent part, but really, if it's something that is being kept in the dark by your Russias and your Chinas and your kind of your cliche, you know, this is where all the crazy shit happens. Like then you can just you can just as easily attribute it to them as you could attribute it to something from outer space, basically. Or even in reverse, like if you know China sees something on their end, they're like, well, this could be a U.S. drone or a spying thing or some new aircraft they haven't told us about. So I suppose that's where you kind of say, because you mentioned earlier the idea that people mistrust the government. So obviously that kind of splats out to everything. If they say, you know, if they tell you it's sunny, you better get your fucking umbrella when you walk out the door, sort of thing. And the fact that they're very much like, no, we haven't seen anything, we've never seen anything, we've never interacted with anything that we can call legitimately a UFO that we brought in. Or, you know, because usually when you get confession things or you get things where people kind of come out and admit it, usually if there's someone that's on the payroll and that's official, they tend to kind of go, we just didn't know what that was. And they kind of go, I can't tell you anything more because we don't know what it was. And then you get the old, like, ex-CIA agent comes in to, like, some fucking underground bunker and he's like, yep, there are aliens, and I shook his hand and he fucking, like on Scary Movie 3, he peed through his finger. And it's like, well, you know that much, and then you go, they're trying to silence me. It's like, surely you would have been done and killed and taken out in the first place before you even got a fucking chance to get out of your car. Because this is the problem with this. It's like either the government is insanely precise and good and they keep all the secrets, or they're poor and they can just take anyone out that they want to, or they're incredibly lazy and weak and liar and pathetic, and you're like, we can just do whatever they want because they don't do shit. Like, you know, people come in from both of those angles at the same time. And I know that like a branch of government and an arm of government is not all going to be run the exact same as the one before, but generally there's an idea that like information generally doesn't come out if especially if there's like you know, those laws that prevent like the JFK shit from coming out for like 50 years. And stuff like that, where it's like, well, we knew some other stuff and we explored other avenues, we just didn't tell you at the time. So the thing is, are you familiar with the works of one Adam Curtis?
I believe you know the answer to that question, good sir.
So for those who don't know, Adam Curtis is kind of like one of the greatest humans of all time. He makes documentaries. He uses a lot of like stock footage and old footage while he kind of, you never see him on camera, he kind of just talks about stuff.
He creates another realm and he puts you in it.
Yeah.
And he's the most incredible like documentarian, I guess.
Yeah.
Because every single one of his documentaries is psychedelic and abstract and like just somehow very visceral and telling and really captivating, like narrative and story process and all that stuff.
And musically as well, definitely. I think his latest, I think he's got some stuff coming out this year, hopefully, like a 9-part series.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I mean, it was meant to come out last year. He's it's a very private man. You don't really see him do many interviews, but I'm sure there are interviews up on the net and stuff.
He's good friends with John Ronson also.
Yes, a bizarre mention when you see those two people being, because it's just like, that would make sense, but also it's mental, if that makes sense too.
It's just funny because every time I talk to you, I mention John Ronson. And so you said Adam Curtis, and I was like, all right, here it comes. John Ronson's getting a mention.
I'm still currently reading So You've Been Publicly Shamed. Picked it up again.
Oh, dude, that is such a good book.
Yeah.
I've read it and I think I listened to it twice and I read it once. It's so I kind of learn something new every time. Like it's so I don't know. He's just such an excellent like he's not even like a storyteller, right? He's just like a
journalist. He's also a good journalist. Yeah,
he is. Yeah, he's a very good he's a very good journalist.
He's just a good guy. He just does that thing where like he he can hang out with terrorist extremists and not seem like he's
Yeah.
out of place, even though he's clearly out of place, and he's got a bit
he's
of
Louis
Theroux
Theroux.
about him. Yeah, they
Yes.
kind of have that sort of like introverted, but you might think this is an innocent question, but it's quite a poignant question that, like, by the way you
Yeah.
answer, leaves people to think about what you're saying as opposed to what they're asking.
Mm-hmm.
But sorry, back to Adam Curtis, and yeah, he's got a documentary called Hypernormalization. I think it's on YouTube. Very, very much worth watching. And
Yes.
in it, he there's a certain chapter in it. I think it's called "The Truth Is Out There," which starts with footage of a UFO recorded by people and members of the public. And basically, the UFO phenomena, he argues in the documentary, I think he has some evidence to back it up. The UFO kind of uprising in the 90s was kind of born out of counterintelligence.
Yeah.
So so the idea would be to make people believe that they're like airborne, like super high tech weaponry or not spaceship. I mean, they are spaceships in that sense, but like it's just a plane, I suppose. If it's human made, it's a plane. If it's like out there, it's a spaceship.
Correct.
Yeah.
A space plane.
a space plane or a plane ship. And so essentially the memos get forged by the I think it's like the Air Force or something like that, Air Force Control, something like that, and it gets leaked to ufologists to kind of present the fact that, like, oh look, I've got this secret shit, and only you can have it. I work for the CIA, and look at this. Look at this. This is President Reagan shaking the hands of two aliens while George H.W. Bush does like, the bunny ears behind him. He's like, that happened. Here it is.
Well, George W. Bush sucks him off.
Yeah.
That's what they're all at.
That's what they're all like. Oh, and he's gay, by the way. So, yeah, and it's like, there's kind of terminology for it. I believe it's like management of perception management. That's it. So perception management, which essentially Adam Curtis argues in that thing, it's just another form of essentially distracting people from the complexities of the real world. Many people stop paying attention to the realities and the kind of day-to-day situations because they're just obsessed, linked to this, the idea that, like, look, I'm looking for aliens. I don't care about your elections or your whatever, your humanitarian causes, your climate change. I'm looking out for the little things in the sky, which, by the way, I've seen, which, by the way, a CIA, ex-CIA agent or current CIA agent has come up to me and said that there are out there. And you could say that it's worked, right? We're talking about it right now. We could be talking about child poverty. I'm sure we could be talking about, what's going on in the rainforest, but it's not as spicy as the fact that we're talking about aliens.
You know full well that when I invited you on this show, the contract that you signed specifically says no mention of the rainforest. Because I profit directly from the destruction of the rainforest. The Midnight Hour is funded by the destruction of the rainforest. I don't know if I ever made that clear to my listeners or not. We're not allowed.
You've hinted at it for many episodes. If you just take every fourth word he said from every episode, that's a biggest admission as I'll ever see. So you could say that essentially what aliens represent, it's a big mirror, isn't it? We're always looking out, very distrustful, always looking out to question things. So as we look up, there's a big mirror looking back at you and saying, like, you believe that there's something, and it's also arrogance, I guess, to just think that, like, aliens will come and talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
So with perception management, and by the way, perception management is basically everything: TV, games, movies, any type of media or any type of thing that distracts you from kind of being kind of rooted to the real world, if you will.
It also, like, just the term, like, it's also even like unwillingly and not by design, it is basically what the whole concept of cinema has given to the world. Like, I was just in my head while you were talking about about how people get obsessed with aliens, I was thinking to myself, like, it's a very American thing. Like, the Americans
Yeah.
are very obsessed with it. But then I was like, why do I think that? And I think that because of movies. Like, I think that because Randy Quaid's character in Independence Day, for example, like, stuff like that. And like, I think it because of, like, shots of documentaries I've seen. But, like, in my head, I can quite clearly map like a sequence of just crazy American people who dedicate their whole lives to aliens, and I'm basing it on like movies that I've seen and like 30-second clips that I've seen on YouTube, and that's it. But like, I have no fucking idea. I've never even been outside of New York in America, so like, oh well, I have been to New Jersey, that's irrelevant. But like, I just like, you know, I've never been to like Nevada, where you know it's near
Alaska.
Roswell or whatever. Yeah, Alaska. Yeah. So I don't know that person even exists.
Yeah.
But in my head, like, that's my perception, and that perception has been managed by the media that I have consumed accordingly. So.
Well, in I was looking up like where the most sightings and kind of abduction claims come from, and less common outside of English-speaking countries, especially the U.S. Like, that's not a coincidence.
Yeah.
And in the 90s, like 80s and 90s, we had a lot of like alien-based movies or like destruction-based, I suppose. Like, you know, obviously you had War of the Worlds way back, but War of the Worlds was also implying that they were fucking Russians. The big Red Scare. I mean, come on, guys.
Wake up, sheeple.
Yeah, and you could be talking about things like, so people that claim that they've been abducted personally. That there's a lot of kind of stuff to waddle through, and obviously we're not going to go through every single person that has happened to. Mm-hmm. But theoretically speaking, there's quite a lot of grifters out there. They know full well they ain't seen shit, and they know full well they're full of shit, but they're trying to make you believe it so that they can feel special about a power that they never fucking had. The end. Goodbye, everybody.
No, just when you said the word grifter, I just immediately thought about Dave Rubin.
Yeah, like, but it's the same thing, and not to get all too deep here.
It is.
Because this isn't that type of like, you know, deep fucking dive into like how society kind of operates. But yeah, you know, there's grifters within religion, there's grifters within the music industry, the film industry. There's grifters alt right, left, right. You know, give them a fucking uppercut to the right. But yeah, there's kind of like the idea of this happens all the time. But the you know, you have stuff like Roswell, which is I think it pretty much is close to confirmed that like it's a weather balloon from basically the Americans, or stuff like, you know, the Area 51 stuff, which, because I suppose it's surrounded in so much mystery that you could say anything and anybody can kind of believe it as long as you deliver it with enough conviction that you believe it.
Yeah. So we're looking at you, Bob Lazar.
Yeah. So if I sit here talking to you for 10-15 minutes and telling you that, like, no, dude, I saw it. I was there in Area 51 in 2012, you know, right around the time that we had the, do you remember the Mayan calendar stuff?
Absolutely, I do.
Yeah. When we had that sort of you make it sound like it was like, who can forget the day that
who can forget
happened?
The end of the world?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty big deal, bruh. But yeah, like, you know, if I tell you, like, in my heart for 2 hours straight, look, I was there, and here's what I saw, and I can do a drawing. I'll take a lie detector. I've got these little cuts in my arm that, like, looks like I've been, like, stabbed or kind of, like, pinched with some sort of, you know, surgical thing, and you might not believe truly, like I'm telling you to believe, but you will walk away kind of thinking like, well, why would he make that up? Why would he go out of his way to just 2 hours just sit there and tell me and tell me and tell me? There's many, like, there's hundreds of thousands, I'm sure, documentaries about aliens. I've seen a fair few of them, from the YouTube ones, like Look at This Video, Slow Down, to like Netflix produced ones.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of Stan Romanek?
Stan Romanek. There's a hurricane coming. I don't know why I said that. So I'm familiar with the name because you've mentioned it to me in the past, but I
Yeah.
haven't. I don't think. Now it's possible that I have, but I don't think I've come across him on my own accord.
So people like him, he's not a good guy, but people like him, I think that they are those people that, I'm sure, by the way, there's genuine people who are looking at the stars and genuinely trying to find something and genuinely trying to kind of like see if there's any life force, you know, like the time where they detected that little noise, the wow signal.
Yeah.
Or was that
By the way,
underwater? I always forget.
Have you heard? No, yeah, that one was. Yeah, no, you're thinking of the bloop. The bloop is the underwater one,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is like 4 times the fucking sound that a blue whale can make, and then the wow signal is the one from outer space that I think was detected in like 1978 or sometime in the 80s.
Yeah.
But then there's a more recent one where, for the first time ever, they've observed transmissions coming from 500 million light years away, and it's the only ever repetitive frequency or fucking transmission that they've observed. So every 16 days, it repeats the same signal.
So
Super interesting.
that could be like, I mean, that could be anything, but obviously it's like, because it's just the I mean, actually, I was just thinking it would be quite cool if it was just like just the back of Earth, because you go around so far one way that
Yeah.
sound just travels back again, back towards when we sent it. You know how we send stuff like playing the fucking Beatles in the moon and shit like that.
That reminds me of this lyric from a Modest Mouse song that goes like, "The universe is shaped exactly like the Earth. If you go straight long enough, you'll end up where you were." And I find that lyric to be so profound, even though it's not true. I think everything we know about the universe tells us that it's not true, but it's such a fucking nice and like, I don't
Fitting.
know. It's a very like, yeah. It's just a very beautiful lyric, I think.
Very poignant, if they will.
Poignant, yes.
Poignant.
Poignant, yeah.
Yeah, and you could, again, like, I'm sure that it's impossible to deny that there isn't any life forms within the known universe, or even the unknown universes, universi. I don't know.
Multiverses.
Yeah, multi. Don't even get into that, dude. That's a whole other branch of the verses. Don't you be dropping those verses, because that's some sick bars that we can't get into. We can talk about that some other point. But yeah. So this guy, this Stanley Tiger Romanek. So he claims to be a UFO proponent, a person who was haunted by it. He has this is all. I'm gonna just quickly kind of touch on his documentary. It's called Extraordinary: The Stan Romanek Story. Now, this is presented to you like it's legit, like all the stuff that's happened to him. You get a compilation of him, showing these little cuts and bruises, and he puts it on the UV light, and there's a little bit of green in it. You get these pictures that are full darkness, but then he brightens it up, and you see a little alien out behind the deck chair in his garden. You get weird lights that he's filming, and he's like, "Oh, what's that? What's that?" And you get one, which, by the way, this wasn't meant to be funny, by honest to God, and I urge everybody to pause this, but only take a minute of your time. Look up alien peeking through window. So he puts the camera. So, think of your classic window. Think of your window.
I'm having difficulty with that image.
It's got glass. The camera's placed not even like CCTV style. It's placed like directly looking at it, as if you already knew they're going to show up. And he's walking around and he's like, "Huh, what's that?" And he kind of goes and runs to the other room because he's like, "I need to get my camera or something," even though he's fucking got one unmounted on the tripod. And you see this little alien. He puts his little head up and he looks in and he puts his head down and he puts his head back up and he puts his head down. Now, if that was real, this man has just captured actual footage of an alien. You'd think it would be quite big, You think it would be like the biggest thing. And the documentary then says stuff like, Stan Romanek, he's a very extraordinary guy, He's had it pretty hard, and the fact that the aliens chose him, it's incredible. So
Jesus.
he starts to talk about he's experiencing telepathic communications. He wakes up in women's clothing. What?
Wow.
He's unable to corroborate and have like a DNA test because he claims he's been taken and touched and stuff has been done to him. And by the way, when we get to the end of this, here's where it gets fucking depressing. I'm pretty sure that, like, you may have worked out, some of the things, abducted.
I can figure out what's coming.
In one account from 2003 claims he woke up and found himself wearing a lady's flannel nightgown, and he suspected he had been abducted and returned in women's clothing. Why would aliens, with all their phenomenal technology, why would they go, you dress him up as a woman though, yeah? Like,
for Bance,
yeah, and he'll be confused, but it's cool because we'll be back next week, so who gives a shit. When he was kind of confronted and asked if he's going to take a DNA test, this motherfucker said it was too expensive. Like, get a fucking, get a, what's it called, a Patreon page like the rest of us.
Yeah, but American healthcare, a DNA test probably costs like $277,000.
Yeah, well, better fucking get it. And he had physical evidence. He had a little alien implant on his leg, he claims, but like by the time they went to go to the doctors, the implant is gone. Can you believe it?
Shocking.
Fucking bullshit, man. How unlucky.
Fucking bullshit.
Bullshit. Yeah, so basically this guy is scary because I think that he is all in, which is fucking weird because, like, none of this is real, by the way. Spoiler alert. Watch the documentary either way, especially if you're high and you want to laugh. But, highly recommended, no pun intended. But, yeah, he literally never went through any of this. So what you're seeing here is a very disturbed individual who clearly wants attention and wants to think that, this is the thing I was talking about earlier, this motherfucker wants to think that he's basically like, he's not just like me and you that go to our jobs and eat our fucking dinners and drink our drinks and, piss standing up. Nah. This guy, he's got that. And he's got aliens to deal with. And he's like, look, I'm not. They're coming after me. I'm not even choosing to do this. They're coming after me. I'm not even engaging with it. And he starts getting all these phone calls from these characters. And the more you watch it, the more you kind of think like, well, if this is true, fair enough. You've got a lot of evidence. But if this is not true, you've been collecting this for 10 to 15 years. And yeah, fair enough. One documentary comes out, but like, you clearly thrive on the fact that you have nothing else, and everything's kind of pinned down to this one thing. I am aliens. I believe I've been abducted by aliens. Therefore, I will create a narrative that will fit the lie until everybody believes it's true. Now, I know we were talking about memories earlier, and you said that, like, memories are kind of like fragments of how you saw things at the time briefly. That by the time, isn't it like, by the time your brain receives something and kind of logs it as a memory, there's like some things wouldn't be 100% as they happened.
Yeah,
that's why people say
entirely. Yeah, there are like fucking countless studies that show this to be true, and there are so many studies where people have like manipulated memories and basically like planted memories and like all sorts of shit like that. So
yeah. So the idea that maybe you saw something once and you just kind of created this whole narrative around it. That's not new. People do it for all things all the time. But yeah, the documentary's fucking ridiculous. And then you find out that he like directed it. And it's kind of, can I just say though, right? Are you ready for the end of this story? The Stan Romanek story? Do you want to know how this ends?
Yes.
I'll tell you how it ends. If you go on his Wikipedia, there is a subheader called child pornography. And I'll just leave it there.
I swear to fucking God, I was gonna say, I bet you that there's some weird fucking. Oh man, I wish I said it, but you probably would have maybe thought that I googled it anyway.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, yeah. Did he get convicted for child pornography and being a sex offender in 2013? Yes, that's how you knew.
But
yeah.
But I also, you know how some people, have like a kind of, the term is like they have delayed puberty or something like that, where some people get physically abused or sexually abused when they're younger, and it delays puberty. Then by the time they get into puberty, they're an adult, but they still have basically like a child's version of puberty, and because of that, they have these weird like pedophilic kind of bent to their fucking spectrum or whatever. But I genuinely believe that this guy was sexually abused as a kid too. It's like, I don't think everyone who cross-dresses has something wrong with them or anything like that. But if you factor in that this guy, all of his stories are involve him being abused, him being abducted, him waking up in women's clothes, which is kind of like a shameful thing, like that he was shamed. It just,
He's
this
the
guy
victim.
seems like
He is,
but he seems like
throughout,
a textbook. Yeah.
Yeah, no. I agree with it. Yeah, that's like the classic thing, isn't it? That, like, if you believe that there's a proven amount of people that say when they're kind of taken by aliens that they're either sexually abused or something like that.
Yeah.
And it again, you wouldn't put it past like a child to try and fucking eradicate those horrific thoughts by being like, well, an alien took me or something. But this guy, he is. There's not too much about his backstory, so I couldn't confirm or deny about the fact that something happened to him. One would assume that it maybe did, but obviously there's no point pinning it down saying yes or no. But like,
yeah.
So he's still fully in the alien thing, though. By the way, this isn't a case where like he got found out and he's like, well, yeah, I am fucked up and I did all these things and now I'm also like going to jail, and by the way, that those alien things, they're all fake. He is tried to bring ufology into court to try to get away from the child pornography that he had on his computer. So the argument is, I didn't put it there. I'm doing bunny ears here. They did. And it's fucking terrifying, and it's like, you want to believe, and that's fine, and you want to like go out there and study it, and unfortunately, much like the people that are still searching for the Loch Ness Monster or Bigfoot, you ain't gonna find shit. But maybe if you look hard enough, long enough, you might just find something that, like, okay, there was something here at some point. It's not what people think it is, but there was something. Whereas this motherfucker is like creating the narrative and then adding himself to it. And I think that there's something quite shameful about that. Not just because of what he did, because that's obviously fucked up. That goes without saying. But I think as well that it discredits, and I know, by the way, that I'm now part of kind of like the implication that everyone who's into aliens is fucked up in some way or another, but it's kind of fucked up the fact that there are real astrologists out there and people that are looking into space. Astrologists? I mean, what's their job?
Astronomers. I was actually about to call you on that and be like, dude, astrologers are astrologists are star sign people.
That's it. Yeah.
Astronomers.
I'm sorry.
Nah,
sorry.
Fine.
Yeah, so
English is your second language. So.
Yeah, and the idea that he is now, he was at the forefront of a movement, that says, I got real evidence, and some of this shit that happened to me is legit, and he gets found out for doing that, and this motherfucker denies it. Like, he denies it like they basically, not to get too bogged down on his crimes, because I really don't want to go through it necessarily, but he's essentially in that weird thing that they put you through because you're such like a severe denier. So you're not even like, I feel bad, I feel good, I'm guilty, I know what I did. He's just like, it never happened. That's the scary thing. So if you apply that mentality to what he's being charged of in that particular context, how the fuck do you give any weight or support to anything he's ever said? If he's severely denying the other one, which is the reality, and he's severely kind of going up for the one that is fake and the one he made up, like, you're discrediting a whole anybody who might have been potentially into it, or might have something actually happen to him,
Yeah,
so
it's like not. It's what's the word? It's just. I guess like it's narcissism, I suppose. It's just like the only thing that he cares about is his image. He doesn't care about anything beyond that. It's all about the perception of him. Like, that's the only thing that matters. You
see this a lot, and by the way, his wife like fully supports him, and she's all like, yeah, that's all true. He didn't do anything. It was the aliens, yada yada yada.
That's sad too.
Yeah, disturbingly sad.
Yeah.
But you see it, and legitimately, like, are there aliens out there? probably yes. I think the known universe is too vast and too large. No one can say for sure, as I said, but I think that it's more likely there's going to be some sort of life form. But to me, the idea that they're going to look like us is extremely arrogant.
That's something I was gonna say, that I assume in his alien footage video that it looks like a textbook alien, like the thing that we associate with aliens. So like this idea of the gray aliens comes from a book that oh shit. Which one is the writer and which one is the actor? H.G. Wells is the writer. Am I correct in that? He's the guy who wrote War of the Worlds. Yeah. Orson Welles is the guy who read War of the Worlds on the radio, I think, and that's why I get them confused. But H.G. Wells wrote this book in like no, it's not even a book. It's like a short story in like 1890 or something about people who go to the moon, and on the moon they see these aliens, and the aliens that he describes are about 8 foot tall. They're gray. They have giant heads and huge eyes. They have no noses. That is like that's like our main, when we think of aliens, that's what we think about, more so than little green men. We think about the big gray ones. It's a H.G. Wells concoction. Like it's a thing that is like, there is, the literary evidence for these aliens begins in the years following their creation by H.G. Wells. Like, you have to be so fucking, like, how can, it's like, can you imagine we lived in a universe, right, where after the year 1984, people claimed to see Terminators walking around the place, and you're like, well, there was no evidence that Terminators existed before the movie Terminator, and now they all do. I wonder why that is. Like, it's so fucking obvious
I'm telling you, I have seen the T-800 eye to eye. I've seen Robert Patrick go through those prison walls. I've seen it. And then everyone's like, whoa, what? All right, maybe he has seen it. Or maybe I'll pick it up from there and be like, no, I've seen it too. I'm one of the chosen ones. And yeah, there you go.
This is completely a side note, right? And this is something that I would never usually say, but I'm feeling kind of like, when you're tired, that you're kind of actually, you feel high almost, and like giddy, but you're tired.
Jet lag.
You know what I mean? Kinda, yeah. That's how I feel. That's how talking to you makes me feel.
Yeah, I'm like a long bus journey. And we're now heading into the fucking 7th hour,
Tinder bio.
Yeah,
I'm like a long bus journey.
I'm like a massively long-ass bus journey where you just sat next to some clown next to you talking about aliens all night.
I'm like the coach to Dartmouth.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say was, I love when Robert Patrick sees the policeman in Terminator 2 and he goes, say, that's a nice bike. The way he says bike is just fucking amazing to me. Like, I could listen to it on a loop forever, and that's all I had to say about that.
Hey, I wonder if that's referenced in GTA Vice City, because one of the earlier missions, Tommy's like, nice bike. And you steal a bike, so... You just
says it like bike, kind of like, that's a nice bike. It's hard to do, but it's
like B-O-I, boik.
Yeah. But he gets, I don't know, he has like the perfect, I don't know.
Perfect drop. Well, I mean, he is an alien. He's a Terminator after all. He
that is true.
He's trying to talk as we would, but he doesn't have quite the full thing. So, yeah. So the gray face. They ran these tests. Funny that you should mention that. They kind of put two groups of children who might have been potentially abducted or claimed that they were abducted, and the kids would say the gray face or this and that, and then when put with the image of the gray face of your stereotypical alien, they would just be like, no, I don't know what this is.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's, it's like, it's a myth that kind of gets blended into reality because you pick up on bits that might have happened, like, things flying past and that black night up in the sky. Yeah. And the idea, though, that an alien would not contact necessarily, the aliens would visit planet Earth, possible. The idea that they would talk to you and take you, very unlikely. I'm assuming you kind of think of it the same as well.
Yeah.
Cause shit. Sorry, go ahead.
I have like a couple of theories about aliens that are not mine. Like I read them and they're very interesting. But one of them that is the most like captivating one to me, right, is that the universe was born 10 to 15 billion years ago. I think the accepted date is like 13.8 billion years ago, they say, right? And us, up until now, just in terms of civilization alone, like, humans have not really been around for that long. We don't have like a whole... we don't have like a significantly long history. The T-Rex was around for longer than the humans were, and then the gap between the T-Rex and the Brontosaurus or something is like even longer than I don't know what the fuck I'm on about here, but you know what I mean, like just in terms of like you know that saying like we're only a second on the clock of the world or whatever. Or we're not
we've
even
only
a
been
second.
around for like a quarter of a fucking second throughout.
Yeah.
Like if you take all
So,
of
like,
time, prior.
According to the Drake equation, there is like a statistical likelihood that there are other.
Wait, did you say? Hang on, did you say the Drake equation?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I know that. I think I know about that. It's like something about starting at the bottom or something.
That's correct.
Yeah. And now you're
but
here.
If you're reading it, it's too late. Yeah.
Sorry, no, go ahead for real now.
It's what it says about the universe is that it's wait, what's the line? And that's so it's like we're living life right now, and that's what we're gonna do till it's over, but it's far from over. Anyways,
he's right.
Fucking
he's not wrong.
So like, let's imagine that that fucking the universe is a 24-hour clock with the hours, minutes, seconds, and we're 0.01 of a second or whatever. So like all the rest of that stuff, all the rest of that time has to be filled by stuff, and it's filled by things like dinosaurs, like vast nothingness for a long time, like the fucking ice ages, and all of this shit. Like, let's say there's life on another planet. It would take less than a split. I guess it would take like one of those seconds for another civilization to reach fucking intergalactic travel, like build warp drives, like all that shit. Like, who's to say they didn't fucking visit Earth in like the fucking, like 500,000 years ago, and fucking there was nothing here, so they fucked off somewhere else, and then over a longer course of time their civilization evaporated, and then on the other side of the fucking fucking universe there's like a whole other bunch of civilizations that all fucking destroyed each other, and there's nothing left of any of them, or that there's like civilizations that got like pocketed by black holes and shit like that. Like, it's so fucking weird to me to think that, like, I don't know, everyone seems to think that the timeline that they exist in is the culmination of something. Like, we all think like, oh shit, 2020, we've got Trump, we've got Brexit, we've got like rising Russian influence around the world, we've got coronavirus, all this stuff, like that it all means something, and like it doesn't fucking mean anything. Like, you can't just like hold up your expectations for like phenomenons like UFOs and just say like, well, if you look at all of this, and like, fuck off, you don't fucking know anything. You're like the most insignificant fucking thing ever, right? And now, so that's one theory, and we're gonna flip that on its head and go straight into another one, which is way better and way more interesting. So like, in the 1940s and like the post-war years was when you had the most significant rise in UFO sightings and stuff like that. And the reason for that could be that there is an alien civilization living in our oceans, and the reasons why they came up during World War II is because so many U-boats got sunk and so many fucking ships got gunned out of the sky, or sorry, planes got gunned out of the sky, and went down to the bottom of the ocean, that the aliens at the bottom of the ocean were like, fuck this shit, let's go up and have a look. And then they fucking flew up out of the ocean, like looked around, and then they went back down the ocean, and as of now they're still right down there, because we know more about space than we do about the ocean on our own fucking planet. What if they're down there?
Yeah,
it would make sense that they're little, like that they're grey, like an amphibious, and fucking,
and walk,
like their fingers
like
are all stuck together. Yeah, they could have like the huge eyes. Like, there are lots of fish that have huge eyes like that. You know?
For me, I think that like there's also a possibility they could just look like fucking blobs, like literally like.
They could be a cloud of fart gas and be sitting behind you right now.
Yeah.
There's no...
Or there just be actual clouds, and there's clouds up there, and they're bending the whole time. If you're talking about like microorganisms as extraterrestrial life, well, I think that's pretty much been confirmed. At least fossilized versions of it.
I think so, yeah. In Mars, in ice particles or some
Yeah.
bullshit like that.
They found like water and or possible traces of water. I always find weird when it's like a trace of water. It's like, what does that mean? But I guess it's just like,
is it vapor?
yeah, are you vaping up there, man? What's going on?
There's another thing, right? Sorry to cut you off again.
No, you're okay, man.
If humans want to observe a pack of, like, I think it's gazelles, I'm not sure, they can just coat themselves in gazelle urine and crawl around next to them, and the gazelles don't fucking know that they're there, because the way they experience reality and consciousness is completely different to how we do. Like, we have, like, all these perceptions and awarenesses and stuff like that, but we have no idea what it would be like if we did the same thing as just, like... Honestly, you can, like, there are, like, so many videos on this, like, people, I don't know, is it zebras or gazelles, or it's some animal where you just, all you have to do is douse yourself in their urine, crawl around, and they just don't know that you're there. Like, it's fucking insane. I think there's another thing that, like, if you cut a turkey's head off and put it on a stick and leave it in a field, a turkey will think it's another turkey. Like, it doesn't know, it has no context for what it is to have a body or anything like that. So, like, that could be happening to us and we wouldn't fucking know. Like, your boss could be a shape-shifting reptilian and you have no, like, but because we can't observe objective reality, we can only observe our own. Like, you know the way that dress thing is fucking, is it gold and white or is it black and blue?
Yeah.
Like, there could be an objective reality where it's none of those. It's fucking red.
Yeah.
And the only reason why we see it as those colors is because of evolution and how we've
our eyes have evolved to this point, sort of thing.
Discern patterns. Yeah. So, like, it's just, I think people think so simplistically about aliens because they just think, like, yeah, well, they're gonna be humanoids. They're gonna speak a slightly different language to us, but not as complex as languages that you hear in Africa or Asia, for example. It's
like, or like a language that's dead, like Latin or something like that. Yeah, it's always like why do they have 10 fingers or 11 fingers or they have two?
Exactly.
Nothing else that's here. Essentially, primates do look like us, don't get me wrong, obviously, but, like, opposable thumbs, we've got that, we've got knuckles, we've got hands,
but
we've got
primates,
thought, we've
primates
got consciousness.
look like us because we all evolved from the same, like, primates and humans evolved from a common ancestor, so that's why they look the same. Like, that's completely and, like, there's another, like, if you got, like, let's say 100,000 human beings and left them on, like, let's say you could go back to kind of the dawn of humanity, with everything being the way that it is, and then you multiplied it by 2, so you have the same Earth, you take one and fling it to the other side of the galaxy and leave our one here. And, trebuchet it across the galaxy, and you have 100,000 humans on each planet, right? And then, like, the ones on the other Earth are not going to evolve in the same way as the ones on this Earth, like, provided they have, a different type of sun or a different, like, planetary cycle, like, something like that.
Well, they would, just because they're there, yeah.
But even in similar conditions, they're not going to evolve the same way. They're not going to be going around speaking English. Like, they're not going to be listening to the Beatles and Jimi Hendrix. Like, they could have a completely fucking different thing. They could exist inside of a moral universe where the sanest thing you can do is eat your children. Like, you know what I mean? It's just, there's no...
Yeah. What that
like,
becomes,
nothing...
or crime is how you get shit done, or
there's
like, no law, there's no
human beings aren't
letter
special.
of the law.
Like, and like other civilizations are not necessarily fucking going to evolve the same way that we do, or like they're not going to adhere to any of the rules that we do necessarily. Like, it's like
they don't have to travel.
Borderline...
No, you're right. They don't have to travel in pods or spaceships, and they don't have to
or iPhones.
They don't have to queue for the bus like everybody else, and that's kind of a good point. There's also those weird theories that, like, maybe at some point our DNA was fused with an alien's DNA, and we're the fucking aliens, and we're the ones out here creating power plants and fucking invoices in our society, and all the animals.
Power plants and invoices, the cornerstones of
human civilization. That's all I fucking hear about: power stations and fucking invoices. But it's
it's like, everywhere, isn't it?
We're walking around here with our fucking milk cartons and our fucking, iPads,
coat hangers,
and none of those things are it's all alien technology. If you take something from like 100 years ago to now, and you're like, give us a game on FIFA, pal, like, they'd be thinking you're a fucking alien, and that's an alien concept, as it were, as well.
Yeah.
For me, like I think I think you have to kind of understand why a lot of people would think it as well, because you know, you look up at the stars and you can't help but imagine. And there's nothing wrong with people like what's it called, the Phoenix Lights? If you know if you've heard about that event, because that was witnessed by a good 200-300 people as well. They all saw these like beaming lights, and the Battle of Los Angeles as well, which is where there was
Rage
a
Against
shooting.
the Machine's third album.
Yeah, that's always what it makes me think
Battle
of. Which is essentially like where planes supposedly shot at, you know, specific looking round shaped objects in the sky, thinking it was like the Germans or the Japanese at the time. This is like in the 30s or 40s, maybe in the early 30s. But yeah, so the idea that you can wonder and look up and stuff, that's fine. And I'm sure that as we explore it further, data will present itself to the point where we'll be able to maybe actually make a definitive announcement. What to me seems strange is where the fucking guy down the street, he knows more than NASA. He knows that NASA are lying. The other guy over there and the other girl over there, like they tell you these things. And don't get me wrong, I'm all up for you be speaking for yourself and learning, having your own experiences and kind of like educating and researching. But like, you're working it from, I know it's true, just gotta prove it. Well, you haven't proved it. You're just telling me what you want to believe, and that's fine. I'd like to believe that, you know, I'm very well off and I look like this and I'm this height and I'm this type of person. But really, you're only convincing either the people that already want to be convinced. It's a little bit like basically the whole alien allegory sort of thing kind of reminds me of you know about like fake martial arts. I got brain power.
Steven Seagal is.
He's a prominent person
in
in it. But yeah, you know, the idea that you can just, you know, I could knock a man out with just the wind of the power that I make. And by the way, I'm out of Dragon Ball apparently, or fucking Naruto. You know, there's people that generally teach those classes, but then you have students in those classes. So
and they fall over, like.
Yeah, because I think, you know, everyone's seen the old clips, new clips from the 80s, pretty much to most recent times, when it's usually like some middle-aged, overweight dude with a beer belly just kind of swatting people away by moving his wrists while everybody else flies out through the fucking window like a cartoon. And what's going on there then? Like, because he's full of shit, which is obviously, you know, there's no denying it. But what's happening with the people around? Well, I suppose what you could make the argument is you see a lot of vulnerable people, a lot of confused people, a lot of people that they want to believe that someone, you know, how do cults work? Well, you put all your power in one person so that you don't have to make any decisions for yourself. So they all kind of put this trust into the idea of, no, that guy knows he's seen aliens, and I know that NASA are bullshitting, because it gives them a weird purpose in life that unfortunately that the daily existence does not bring. As I said, it's fine. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, there's like a second audio delay just so that the listeners know, and it's hard for us to know when we're allowed to cut each other off. But
yes, these winds are pretty crazy.
When Darren Brown was on Joe Rogan, he told a story that's like, it's like tangentially related to what you just said. But it was like where he was it even Darren Brown, or it was just a hypnotist, or I don't know. But I think so. The guy was
an
like
astrologer
telling this. An astrologer, yeah. But he was saying like he convinced people to eat an onion because he convinced them that it was an apple, and they ate it. They just ate a raw white onion and didn't think anything weird about it, right? And so then there's this one guy who's skeptical, and he's like, well, this is complete bullshit. Like, I can eat an onion right now knowing that it's an onion, but I can do it because I'll be motivated by the need to prove that this is bullshit. And so he just eats the onion like it's an onion, and he tastes the fact that it's an onion, but he still eats it because he just has to prove that it's a thing that people can do. And so Darren Brown or whoever it is that I'm thinking of is like, yeah, so see, it can be done. You just ate the onion because you were motivated by your need to prove otherwise. The other people ate the onion because they were motivated by the fact that I convinced them it was an apple.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, that's true. And that's the same thing. So I think for the people who do the force push, I've seen it at prayer sermons and stuff like that too, where they're like, here's the power of the Lord, and they move their hands and everyone falls back into the power of God.
Yeah.
But it's like the person doing the pull and the person pushing, they both genuinely believe in this circumstance that the thing that's happening is actually happening. And for like perception management, right? If you perceive something to be that way, it is that way for that person. Like there is no objective consciousness, or sorry, like there's no like objective reality. There is only your conscious perception.
Yeah.
And
it's a bubble at that point as well, because everybody believes
absolutely.
and everybody doesn't question it, and that's just how things are. And you kind of take those sort of concepts and you apply it to ufology. Like, I'm sure that people have found things that are genuinely falling out of the sky, not just meteors, like other things as well, and I'm sure that it could happen again. But to me, the idea of making it such a personal story is where it gets fucking frustrating. Because I'd like to believe as well. I've seen X-Files, okay? I like to believe. You know,
I really fucking want to believe, like, more than anything. Like my perfect reality, like aside from the one where I'm a billionaire on Earth and I do whatever the fuck I want. I mean, like my perfect reality is one where space travel is possible, and you just, like, you know, in like Star Wars and Star Trek and shit like that, like you just go to another planet and like that's it. You're just on another planet now, and you get to like explore the galaxy and stuff.
Yeah, like No Man's Sky sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly, like No Man's Sky. Yeah.
And yeah, like, I think we'd all like to kind of do that, but like, I'm not gonna turn what I think I want to happen into like, well, and now I can definitely give you 100% proof that it happened. I think that the best that science can do is that thing that they always talk about, where it's like, well, science is about basically you saying something and everybody else trying to prove you wrong.
Yeah.
Until they learn something else about it. And that doesn't seem... What I find annoying is that kind of mentality doesn't stop supplying when it comes to more conspiracy theories and more like kind of more fringe ideas. And I'm not saying like fringe ideas like, you know, supporting certain regimes and certain ideologies. I'm talking more like within a conspiratorial, you know, aliens, werewolves, Bigfoot.
Bigfoot, yeah.
Like, it feels like there's been more people who believe in those things, and they go up there, and then they can't find it, and then they kind of go like, well, yeah, he's here, he just didn't show up yet, or I did see him, but my fucking camera was off, I'm so sorry. Like, that is where the kind of the human greed and kind of like selfishness to be on top of the story is kind of where you discredit yourself, and it's fucking sad, unfortunately. You know, whether there's something wrong with you mentally, like whether something that's happened to you in the past, like, you know, there's no justification for it. But you could also make the argument that, like, just because something terrible's happened to you doesn't mean that you then have to believe in aliens. That's not the outcome of, like, you know, doing drugs. You don't become a fucking, you know, a Bigfoot believer. Because then every person on drugs would be a Bigfoot believer. A person who's drunk would believe they've seen the Loch Ness Monster. So it's not like necessarily like a, well, if you do this, if you live like this in these circumstances, this will happen. But I think that we would all like to believe, as you said, but unfortunately it just seems that just to get to something that might be tangible, or maybe someone had a real experience, like those lads in Brazil who had like some sort of burnt stomach and they felt horrible and puked and died, or the people that were in you know, that thing in Russia, the Wojciech incident or whatever, where all those people went camping.
Wojciech is the fucking goalkeeper, Wojciech Szczesny. No, it's the Dyatlov Pass incident is what you're thinking of.
Yeah, I was actually thinking of like the Wojciech manuscripts, which is that weird
book. Oh, the
book.
Wojciech manuscript, yeah, of course.
Yeah, written. Okay, then that book was written by aliens. There you go. Case closed.
That's like,
put it down.
Isn't it interesting the way it's like, the fucking History Channel is the one that fucking jumped the shark on us and was like, yeah, oh, everything is aliens.
Yeah, you
Sorry.
still see it all the time. You're like, man, I was watching this thing about like, what baby blue tits do, or what leopard can do, and then all of a sudden you're talking about alien civilizations.
Yeah.
Like it's the same, with the shit of CGI, that like pretty crappy TV scale, like, and if this beetle was 6 foot tall, this is what it looked like. That sort of shit. Yeah, they jumped because they know that people are interested and fascinated by that, and they exploit that stuff. And it's sad because maybe we'll get to a point down, maybe not in our lifetimes, maybe not even in the next generation's lifetime, maybe not hundreds of generations, maybe after we're long gone, there will be another form of life that will come from somewhere and be like, look at our stuff and be like, man, these guys were so wrong about us. But just to get you off the fence finally, we'll do like a couple of questions here about like just sort of aliens in general. So can I just check though, do you believe in the idea of extraterrestrial life in the universe, known or otherwise?
It's a question that people very confidently say, like, yeah, of course, blah blah blah.
Yeah, of course, man. Come on.
Cristiano
Ronaldo's a fucking alien. He's amazing.
I just don't feel equipped to answer it, right? So like I'm very I used to be very let's say like controlled by my emotions. I know that like everybody is, and but that's what I mean. Like I used to be guided by my emotions a lot, and I want there to be, so I usually would say yes, right? But I don't know things like this, so I defer to the experts. And like if you want to, like the Drake equation is a great example of how in all probability there is. But I also think the Drake equation, there are so many different aspects that comprise the Drake equation. Like one of them is like what we know and can observe so far in the universe, and like all of those kinds of things. And like the truth is, we actually don't really fucking know a lot. Like we know a lot, but like there are some scientists who say we are alone in the universe because of like X and Y, and I can't answer the fucking question. I think most probably yes, because it seems to be a general consensus, and it also, NASA keep coming out with these statements like we're going to find alien life within the next 15 years, and I think yes, we are going to find life, but it's going to be the most boring fucking type of life that in my estimations,
a cactus,
yeah, I wouldn't even fucking class that as life. That's not what life is. Get the fuck out of here. We're not. Okay, there's no interesting extraterrestrial life that we are going to know about in our lifetime. Is what I'll say as my answer. Yeah. I'm sure there is life out there.
Yeah, there is existing life, so we can go with that. And obviously, the next question would have been like, do you think they look like anything they've ever been documented to look like? Well, probably yes, but probably most likely not. That's how I'd feel about it. But
I wonder, like,
what about do you think that we've ever been, okay, because I know you said, like, it's true they could have visited 1 billion years ago and gone, this is fucking awful, get out of here, or the cliche one, which is like, we're just like a speck inside of a snow globe being looked at by an alien species going, this is the best TV show ever, haha. But do you think, though, that there's a chance that within, say, the last 2,000 years, let's just say let's just say the year we're at, 2020 years, the last year, that there's been not attempts to make contact, not visitations in the sense of like they came to my backyard and started having a wank, so I told them to fuck off. But like, I'm talking like they flew past and had a fucking look. Do you think that's likely to have happened? And I know that you want to defer to experts, but do you think that, like, are we, again, so there's two, it's kind of the double thing. Are we arrogant in the sense of, like, we kind of think, like, yeah, of course they'd have a look. We've got, we got castles and then the Great Wall of China. Or do you think that, like, if there is an alien life forms that could, navigate through space, would they just look right past us because we'll be like, well, they're not technology advanced at all?
Man, I really, really like the way you're trying to pull me off the fence. I don't think
Get
any
off the
guest
fence.
has ever done this to me before. Fuck, like, I actually... so, I don't... Okay, so my answer is kind of still a fencing position, but so I don't think it's likely that they flew past and had a look, because I think I would just imagine that a civilization that has mastered space travel to that degree would be very aware of the conditions in which life is likely to thrive, and
Of
if
what
they
they're
flew
going
past
near,
Earth,
right?
yeah. So
Yeah.
if they flew past Earth, I would assume they would feel compelled to visit. But then what I'm doing there is called anthropomorphizing, where you make your assumptions based on what humans would do or what you would
And
do
have
as a human.
done, yeah.
Yeah, and I can't suppose their motivations. So I don't know. Like it's possible, but I find it unlikely just because we've explored a fair amount of our universe. Or sorry, of our galaxy. Like even if you think like Voyager 1 is, I don't know, what is it, like 40 fucking thousand light years away from Earth right now or something
A
outrageous like
long
that.
way away, yeah.
Yeah, and I just think there would be something somewhere, right? Like just, I don't know, space garbage or something like that.
But I suppose you
Um,
couldn't like quantify their ideas and what they would even look at or think about, because it's like
Yeah.
you'd have to know what it is first.
Do you remember the big cigar shaped asteroid that flew around Earth there, or flew between the sun and Earth or something like that? Do you remember that a few years back?
The one that kind of fell near Russia.
No. It didn't fall to Earth, but
Oh, it just flew past. Okay.
It passed through our solar system, and it's shaped like a cigar.
Oh,
And
okay.
so, like the leading UFO expert from Harvard University or some bullshit. I don't know his actual fucking title, right? But he is a person of significant stature in the scientific community, and
Okay.
he 100% believes that it's an object of extraterrestrial origin, being that it has come from somewhere else, and he believes that it could be something to do with aliens. I don't think I'm misquoting him when I say that. So
Okay,
like
so-
that's really interesting, because that, like an object of that shape and size is not something that we've ever seen inside of our solar system before. But
So
it's
be the
also
idea that maybe they sent it over.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And but like it's a really interesting one, because it's interesting that there's never been an object of that shape before. But if you say an asteroid is a rock, we know there are rocks that are shaped like that. So intuitively, we would imagine that there are also asteroids like that, right?
Yeah.
Because it makes sense if you think about it. So, but it's interesting. Like if that was like, let's say that cigar-shaped asteroid was about to hit off of a planet in another solar system where they've perfected like a Dyson sphere or something like that, and this planet is able, their defense mechanisms are so good that they were just able to launch it right back out.
Yeah.
And it's propelled its way the whole way here. Like that would be super cool. So I think about stuff like that, and I think that that's definitely possible. But I just can't commit to a position, because I just I don't even see the point. I would like for it to be true.
Yeah, well,
but-
that is your position, I suppose, in that sense.
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
also like for it to be true. It's not. It's obviously way more exciting to just be like there's fucking nothing
Yeah,
for
there's nothing and
millions of
nothing.
miles.
Yeah.
and a number
or
that
we're
you
a
can't even
simulation.
get to.
That's
Yeah.
The other one is that we're a simulation, which I also really like, but I don't know.
Yeah, man, we're all in the Matrix, that sort of thing as well.
Yeah.
I just think that realistically, there's a chance, or there's many chances, or there's realistic arguments to say that, like, as maybe civilization, society, like humans were evolving, that things would have gone past, seen it. But I don't think they would make contact unless, I suppose, as we kind of alluded to, where it's like they'd have to know who we are, and they'd have to keep an eye out for us for so much long. And then it's like, well, given what we know about the known universe now, they would have to travel quite a far long way. But for
Yeah.
example, a cigar-shaped asteroid, that could be sent because it's not a manned thing. That could just be like, well, we're just going to drop this, and we'll have some sort of camera there or something. Again, I'm doing the human anthropomorphized.
Yeah. But like, I also like it seems to be extremely likely, irrespective of whether or not you're anthropomorphizing. It seems extremely likely that if we do ever get visited, it will not be by actual beings. It will be by AI.
But what they
you know,
use, their technology
whatever.
would appear. So when we talk about, I guess this comes full circle here, but when we talk about UFOs and spaceships, those don't even have to be manned. Then.
Yeah, exactly. And like, it's unlikely that they would, like, how... Oh, well, I guess you're getting into... like, you can't really talk about anything technological, right? Because we have no fucking say in what's likely technologically, because we don't know. But
we have unmanned things flying into space.
Yeah,
so
Voyager
I know.
1, like,
Yeah,
all the way up
exactly.
there.
And it's not far fetched to say, well, if you say, again, this is all in the context of we are applying human rationale and human kind of thought process, and the psychology of what we are doing can lead to something else. But if you say, like, look, if there's a civilization out there, they don't have to look like us, they don't have to sound like us, they have to speak like us, but if they have our technology, times 10,000. Well, then, we're doing self-flying things now, so why couldn't they do things that do that but much further away? And they gather data, and they're fucking gone, and you never see it again, because it's just like, well, they got all the data they needed. So, to me, I think that aliens possibly exist, that, like, the possibility, like, I'm not a denier, essentially, I'm not going to close my mind, but I just think that, like, when people selfishly try to become the story and attach themselves to something that, like, the best minds in the history of the world are still trying to comprehend what it is, then it fucking sucks. Yeah. And that's the end of the...
It is.
Yeah, man. I think we covered it nicely there. But I'd like to know what people think, though. It'd be nice to just see if people actually agree or disagree with us.
Yeah. I suspect people will be too afraid to comment because I stayed on the fence too much. So they don't know.
I'll be attacked for my views. That's fine.
Yeah.
Alien believing freak.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
But like, I would really love for someone to give me a reason to get off the fence, I guess.
Yeah.
Try to convince me.
Well,
so that I can laugh at your insanity. Nah, but like, I would like to know. And also, we didn't even get to talk about Tom DeLonge, but I think we'll maybe do another episode about him at some point.
Yes, because he's done a lot of stuff on his own, right? A lot of stuff that, like, he claims to have spoken to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yes, we might need a refresher course on just, like, Tom DeLonge's version of the alien sort of, I don't know,
I think
idea.
it's important. And also, I want to do an episode on Bob Lazar, so if the listeners are curious on my thoughts on that, I'm working on it, and when I say working on it, I mean you'll get it at some point in the next 12 years.
Perfect. Just in time for the next eclipse. How awesome. How convenient. This guy talks about Bob Lazar, and it's, oh yeah, shit, this year is, not eclipse, but it's a leap year, isn't it?
It is a leap year, yeah.
So
and you know what that means? End of the world.
That means aliens, fam. That means end of the world. And if it doesn't happen, much like everybody else who predicts the end of the world, like, just come back in 6 months and I'll tell you another date that's slightly further away and I'll justify it.
Yeah.
And, the midnight hour will never be the midnight hour because it's always 1 a.m. So the doomsday clock will never go to 0. And that's, by the way, those doomsday people, sorry, unrelated, but those doomsday people are fucking hilarious. Maybe we should talk about doomsday plots as well in the future, but... Yeah, I'd like to know if people are going to comment and say they liked Aliens, legitimately, because I'm very interested to read it and see and kind of start a discussion and be like, oh, actually, there is a lot more than I actually knew and searched for, so, yeah, should be interesting.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, thanks for being on the show.
Oh, thanks for having me on the show. Thanks for listening to the show.
Yeah, let's record more podcasts in future.
Yes, let's keep it 100, aka
yes,
do more shit. Well, that depends. Like, if people are more interested in, like, conspiracy stuff, like, I'm happy to try and pick subjects. I don't really like to dictate though, because it's like, you don't want to shove this shit down people's throats and be like, man, people just want to listen to you review 13 Reasons Why. They don't want the zeitgeist over here, but Yeah,
no,
man.
trust me, people definitely prefer this to me
Oh,
talking about
I don't
13
know.
Reasons Why.
I don't know. But yeah,
I mean, statistically, that's not true because 1 million people listen to me talk about 13 Reasons Why. But,
yeah. Well, it's a nice number, and I guess it's you can get off the fence.
1 million people can't
There
be
you go.
wrong.
A little
Dude,
dig
you know
at you
what?
at the end.
You know what I have in my head is I don't know why this is there, but when Jez kills Super Hans' fish and fucking Hans goes like, "Oh, not Flip. He was one of the good guys, man. He was old school." How could a fish be old school?
I love that. He's a proper old school fish. This guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, we'll leave it there. Do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for listening. Good night. Enjoy whatever song I play after this.
Yeah, some vaporwave, some alien wave.
She's mostly gone. Some other place. I'm getting by in other ways. Everything they whisper in our ear is coming true. Try to justify the things I used to do. Believe in you. Watching you drown, I follow you down. I am here right beside you. The lights in the sky have finally arrived. I am staying right beside you, trying to stay away, just in case. I've come to realize we all have our place. Time has a way, to make it clear. And I have my role in this. I can't disappear or leave you here. Watching you drown, I'll follow you down, and I am here right beside you. The lights in the sky are waving goodbye, and I am staying right beside you.
I was thinking "Lights in the Sky" by Nine Inch Nails because it's a very scary song. Like it's scary subject, scary song.
Yeah, like you could listen to it like as you're about to kind of be, I don't know, perhaps you're in a ship or boat and it's about to go down.
Yeah,
Put
it's
the
a
lights in
really
the
eerie
sky.
track. Like it's dark. Like
Yeah, it's I'll be honest. Sometimes if I'm listening to that album, I'll just skip it because I don't want to just be brought down if I'm like on the bus or about to, I don't know, get a coffee or having a cigarette. Like I don't want to think about all that because it's just a piano and Trent, that one, I think.
Yeah, it is. I
yeah.
have I remember like when I lived in Scotland, I had like really bad insomnia, and I would be awake at like 3:30 listening to that song, or like that song would come on or whatever. But I have this like one specific memory of it where it came on, and like I don't know, did like the power in my house cut or something like that. But I've always just associated that song with just undying terror,
Like
I just
going
find
into a
that
black
song-
hole.
Yeah, or like bracing yourself for a nuclear blast that's gonna annihilate you, something like that. Like just something world-ending and apocalyptic and terrifying.
I think that will fit the vibe as well.
I think so.
Go for that. Yeah. Until it gets copyright claimed. Hopefully it won't. I don't think it is, but
Actually, I think it will. I probably have to use a remix.
not even the instrumental.
Yeah, the instrumental. Yeah. Anything like that, instrumental or the track, will all be copyright. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Are we finished though? Because hang on a minute.
Press off on the thing. I'm gonna press it too.
Where's off? Where's off?
If you open the dashboard type thing,
the
the program
click
itself,
to turn
or
off.
is yours different?